Hello, friends. It's Katie back with another episode of my vlog, and of course, another Cinema Club Sunday roundup. And of course, it being 1 week till Halloween, we watched 5 different spooky or horror-y or Halloween-y themed movies this last week that I want to share with you guys. First of all, we finally completed the mission to go see Beetlejuice from 1988, directed by Tim Burton, at the Academy Theater here in town. We actually tried to go the previous week, and I, in a fit of trying to clear up memory on my phone earlier in the day, had deleted a bunch of photos from my phone. And it turned out that I had deleted the photo of all of our entire family's COVID vaccine cards. So we went all the way to the movie theater, and poor Sean had to walk like half a block from where we parked the car over to the box office of the theater, only for me to realize I didn't have the photo of our cards at all. So, lesson learned. I came home and the first thing I did was took a new photo of all of our cards and sent it to everyone so that we all have it. And then 1 week later, yay, thankfully, the Academy held Beetlejuice over because so many people wanted to see it. We got to go see Beetlejuice this last week, which was awesome. Sean leaned over to me during the opening credits and said that he didn't think he had seen it in the theater since it first came out. And I think I have one time, but a very long time ago. So it was amazing to be able to see this movie on the big screen one more time. We watch it every year. The whole family knows it forwards and backwards. We completely love it. It is, as far as I'm concerned, 10 out of 10, required viewing, absolutely one of the greatest ghost stories of all time, if not my favorite ghost story of all time. I was actually thinking about this this morning. I was on my run. I was thinking about what I wanted to say on the vlog, and I was like, I think Beetlejuice is my favorite ghost story of all time, with Ghostbusters as a close second, and then actually A Christmas Carol as my third place, which kind of says something. I guess I like more funny and less scary ghost stories, but those are my favorite ghost stories. And what a story Beetlejuice is, right, you guys? I don't think I need to give you any of the plot synopsis of this one, but, just in case you've been living under a rock for 30 plus years, starring Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, both amazing performances, as a couple who die right at the beginning of the movie. And then they don't even realize they're dead, and they have to learn what it means to be a ghost and to haunt their own house and to have people that they don't like move into that house, and then to deal with the bureaucracy of the afterlife, and hiring Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton, in an incredible performance by Michael Keaton. They hire him. He's the freelance bioexorcist who's going to come get the humans out of their house for them. The family that's moved into the house is played, you got Jeffrey Jones, Catherine O'Hara, and of course Winona Ryder as Lydia Dietz. All of the performances by everyone in this film are incredible. The writing's incredible. The makeup, the costumes, the sets, the music. I mean, the whole thing. It's a package deal. It is an incredible movie. Like I said, 10 out of 10, totally required viewing. If you've never seen it, please see it. I did learn in my research for this vlog that Tim Burton's original choice for Beetlejuice was going to be Sammy Davis Jr., which would have been amazing, but would have been a totally different movie than the one that we got. And I feel like Michael Keaton does this role incredibly well. Apparently it actually kind of got him in trouble with fans, and when Tim Burton cast him as Batman, people were like, no, we can't have Beetlejuice as Batman. But he did Batman well too. So I think I touched on that when we reviewed Batman, however long ago that was. Go see Beetlejuice, or see it again if you haven't seen it recently, and enjoy all of those wonderful things. I will say a little storm cloud for my experience was we went and saw this on Thursday night, and came back driving home in the car. Everyone's talking about their favorite scenes and what part do they love the most and all this stuff. And we basically walk in the door, and I open up Reddit, and it's like this terrible, terrible news about this tragic story with Alec Baldwin accidentally killing the cinematographer on the movie Rust that he was filming. So that really put a damper on my personal enjoyment of this particular viewing of Beetlejuice. It might be one of my favorite Alec Baldwin movies also, but he's got a pretty big range. But gosh, I feel bad for Alec Baldwin. I feel horrible for this cinematographer who got killed and her family, obviously. But what a thing to have to live with for the rest of his life. What an awful, awful accident. And I don't want to turn my vlog into this, but if you look further into it, there was some workplace safety shenanigans going on set, and some union camera crew guys walked off the set because they were concerned about specifically the prop guns going off when they weren't supposed to. So it sounds like the people in charge of this production had some forewarning that something was wrong with this particular prop gun and didn't listen, which makes the story extra tragic. Anyhow, my heart goes out to everyone involved. It's just horrible all the way around. Yeah, sorry to be a downer, but that was the downer ending on my experience of Beetlejuice. But Beetlejuice, wonderful film. Don't let Alec Baldwin's personal current tragedy get in your way of seeing it. Hopefully this Halloween season. If not, go into November with it. Whatever, it's timeless. You can watch it any time of year. Also this week, we both The Fly from 1958, directed by Kurt Newman and starring Vincent Price, and The Fly from 1986, directed by David Cronenberg and starring Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, who we just saw in Beetlejuice. Kind of like rolled around in a little circle with that. It was so much fun to watch both versions of The Fly this week. We did not watch them back to back, but we watched both of them this week. And it was really, really great to be able to watch first the original, then the remake, to be able to compare them and kind of talk about them both and what we liked about which one and what we liked about the other. And it was a really fun just exercise kind of in reading films, but also they're both great films. The 1958 one is like a classic B-movie sci-fi from the 50s, although I will say it's like a very high quality B-movie, like an A-level B-movie, if that makes sense. They have the basic same plot structure. We have a scientist who has discovered a way to teleport objects through space using some kind of teleporter pods or modules or something. And when he first makes this discovery, he first tries sending inanimate objects through the teleportation device. Then he tries sending animals through the teleportation device. I'm describing both movies, by the way. And finally, he puts himself through the teleportation device. And in both iterations of The Fly, what happens is when our scientist main character does his own experiment with teleporting himself, he doesn't realize that a fly also gets into the teleportation pod with him. Uh-oh. And so instead of just teleporting from one place to another, he actually gets merged with the fly at like a molecular level and comes out the other side not quite human anymore. Now, the two movies differ a lot in tone. The 1958 one, like I said, is more of a science fiction movie, less of a horror. And it's got kind of, I don't know if it's a good narrative structure, but they use that narrative structure where they actually start with the end of the film. We actually see the scientist's wife has just killed him in a huge hydraulic press. Like their family owns a printing press, I think, as well as having a mad science laboratory down in the basement. So the story starts at the end with her killing her husband and then regretting it and, kind of going crazy. Oh my God, I killed my husband, whatever. And then the whole rest of the story is told in a flashback where we learn all this stuff about him teleporting and turning into a fly and whatnot. I don't know if I love that structure just because it's kind of weird to go into the movie knowing how it ends. It works well in some movies. I don't know if it worked really well in The Fly. One of the other kind of oddball things about it is it takes place in Quebec. So like everyone has a French name. But then there's no reason given for why that's where it takes place, but whatever, things take place all over the world. I will note that in the 1958 The Fly, the scientist character has an extremely supportive wife who, as soon as he reveals that something's gone wrong in the lab, and he's standing there with like a cloth over his head so she can't see him, but he needs her help and he needs her to bring him all this different stuff. She's very nonchalant about it and just like, okay, I love you, I'll help you, whatever weird thing happened in the lab, like, we got this. And then when she actually sees what's happened to him, she is horrified, but she still continues to help him. So that one is pretty interesting. It's a good watch. I feel like Vincent Price's part isn't big enough. He plays the brother of the scientist. So he's kind of a side character for the main narrative. But the Cronenberg remake from 1986, whoo boy, what a movie. First of all, if you are not familiar with David Cronenberg's particular style, he's like the king of gross out body horror stuff. Like if you want something that's about meat and flesh and sensuality of creatures, sometimes the sensuality of not even sentient creatures. Sometimes it's inanimate objects that are like breathing and heaving and having like fleshy bits to them. He definitely has like a thing that he does, and it is on full, just like super Cronenbergian display in his version of The Fly. So if like body horror stuff grosses you out and you can't handle it, you probably don't want to watch The Fly. But if you can tolerate that stuff, recommended. It is 10 out of 10 required viewing as far as I'm concerned. It's an incredible, incredible remake. One of the best remakes, I think, ever. And you guys know I don't like remakes in general, but I think the Fly remake and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake from the 70s are two of my absolute favorite remakes. And what Cronenberg does with this material is just great. He turns it from, it's like kind of like half gross out body horror, half tragic love story between Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, who are both incredible in the film. But boy, Jeff Goldblum's acting is just unbelievable. Watching him go from Dr. Seth Brundle, the scientist who has invented teleportation, to the Brundle Fly, which he is at the end of the movie, both through the physical transformation that he undergoes with the various special effects makeup done by Chris Wallace, who also made the Gremlins and did the great Nazi face melting scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So he's the guy who's responsible for all the makeup special effects in The Fly. So you get to see Jeff Goldblum transforming physically into a grosser and grosser creature as he's becoming the Fly. But he also takes on more and more fly-like and insect-like mannerisms in the way that he's moving and the way that he's talking and the way that he's interacting with Gina Davis's character. It's just incredible. He does such a good job in this role. But again, Gina Davis is amazing also in her role. And it's just, like I said before, it's this ultimate kind of gross out Cronenberg body horror stuff of his transformation. But then she gets in on it too, because partway through the movie, she finds out that she's pregnant and he's the father, and he, in his post having, turned himself partly into a fly version of himself, is who has fathered this baby that she's going to have. So in addition to the gross body horror stuff that he's going through, she's got this whole, oh my God, I'm pregnant with a monster and I want to have an abortion. And there's a frightening dream sequence where she like births a giant maggot. David Cronenberg plays the gynecologist in that scene. So that's kind of fun cameo. But anyhow, hopefully I haven't said too many spoilers. I don't think I have. But yeah, The Fly. Ooh, it is very powerful, very gross, very touching at the same time. Like I said, tragic love story there. There's a lot going on in this movie, and it all works together really well. The presentation of the tech that he uses, the teleportation pods still look incredible. The interface that he has with his computer looks a little cheesy from 2021 standards, but again, that movie is from 1986. Don't know what you want. Looks pretty great though, in retrospect. So completely recommended, again, unless you're just totally grossed out by body horror stuff, and then maybe skip The Fly. Also, this week, we watched a movie called The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism from 1967. Apparently, the original title is The Blood Demon, or however you would say The Blood Demon in German, because this is a German movie, or The Snake Pit and the Pendulum, and it is based on The Pit and the Pendulum story by Edgar Allan Poe. This was a weird one. It's a West German Gothic horror, but it's starring Christopher Lee. So it feels a lot like a Hammer horror film from the late 50s or 60s. But it takes place in Germany, and everyone but Christopher Lee is a German actor, and they've all been dubbed into English. So it has a little bit of an odd feeling, which kind of adds and enhances, because the story itself is a little bit odd. Christopher Lee is like some sort of count or something, and he's like gonna like drink the blood of 13 virgins or something. I can't remember exactly, to gain immortal life. And like the townspeople catch him at this after he's offed 12 virgins, and they draw and quarter him in the very first part of the movie. And then some time goes by, and like he's going to be brought back from the dead by his weird, like possibly undead henchman who's been like organizing things for him while he's been dead for 30 years. And so when we pick up with the narrative, it's 30 years later, and there's a young man and a young woman who are like the last descendants of their, lineage, that they've got some relative who's relevant. They have like a powerful bloodline or whatever. And the count is going to be woken back up, and this young woman is going to be his 13th victim, so he can become, immortal forever or whatever. There's a bunch of interesting parts of this, but for me, kind of the best part is right at the beginning. They're in a carriage going through from point A to point B. I'm not even sure where they were supposed to be going, but they travel through this insane haunted forest, where first the carriage is like bumping over dead bodies that are just in the road. And then, like, there's all these dead bodies hanging from the trees. And then, like, the trees themselves are made out of dead bodies. Like, people's arms are, like, reaching up and stuff. Horrifying forest. I'm, like, saying to Sean, who planned this carriage route? Like, is there another road that you could go around the scary dead forest? But the guy who's driving the carriage is so scared by the scary forest that he has a heart attack and falls off of the carriage. And then that's what allows the evil count's henchmen to, like, take control of what's going on with our guys. I won't say too much more about what happens in this one. If you're a fan of Hammer horror, if you're a fan of Gothic horror, that type of stuff, definitely check it out. One of the other details that I loved was when the two principal characters are in the Count's castle being held prisoner by the henchmen. They're wandering around in the corridors of the castle, and they keep like turning corners and finding just like a gaggle. I don't know if gaggle's the right word, but for a group of vultures, just like vultures roaming the hallway of the castle and like eating dead bodies that are just lying out in the hallway in the castle. Great touch. I told Sean we got to steal that for like a future Dungeon Degenerates thing. You come around a corner, there's a whole flock of vultures there. It was fantastic. So yeah, if you're a fan of old Hammer horror, Christopher Lee stuff, weird dubbed West German movies, check out The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism. And one last movie for this week. We had to do something a little bit funny to lighten the mood somehow. So we watched Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, which was, the plot was pretty convoluted. Abbott and Costello are like newly minted detectives. They've just graduated from detective school, and there's a boxer in town who's been accused of murdering his either his manager or his trainer. And so the boxer wants to get hold of the invisibility serum so that he can turn invisible and like prove that he wasn't the guy who did it. So kind of convoluted plot. It didn't make sense in a lot of places, but again, you don't watch an Abbott and Costello movie for the plot. You watch it for the jokes and the gags and the laughs, and this movie was very funny. So if you have watched any of the other Abbott and Costello Meet a Universal Monster and enjoyed them, you'll definitely like Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. All right, that's it for me for movies for this week. As usual, I would love to hear about what you guys have been watching, what horrors or spookies you guys have watched in this wonderful Halloween season. I am not sure what we have coming up next week, but I know as we head into actual Halloween, we are going to have to watch the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And like I've told you guys before, we watch Halloween on the day before Halloween, and then we watch Dracula on Halloween. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here on Sunday next week, since Sunday is Halloween. I might record my vlog either on Saturday or Monday, just because we're going to have a lot going on Halloween. All right. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I will be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, stay safe and take care out there, and don't forget to make it spooky.